one and only Charles Barkley from NBA on TNT. And
One
Charles
of one.
joins us here on the Arizona Sports Line. Charles, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hello, Chuck.
You're always welcome here. You know that, Chuck. Let's start with the Phoenix Suns. 50 games in, 19 games together with the big three. I still think there's a great deal of mystery on what this team actually is at this point. I know it's still a growing process, but I'd love to get your current take on what you're seeing from this group of Suns and how together they have things, Charles.
Well, I agree with you. The jury's still out. I think you have to look at the big picture and say, okay, are we on a level with the Clippers and the Nuggets? And that's a hard no right now. You know, in my opinion, the Clippers are the team to beat, and the Nuggets right behind them. The Suns, you know, because of injuries, they've been a little inconsistent. I would love to see a couple things. I would love to see them go out and get another big guy. But I would love them to bring Bradley Beal off the bench. Because, you know, I think it's tough for all three guys to do what they do best when they're on the court together. They kind of do a my turn, your turn type thing.
Yeah, they do.
I would love to see them bring a serviceable point guard in, play at a much faster pace with KD and Booker starting. And I would bring Beal off the bench for instant offense when one of those guys come out. Now, I think you can play them in the fourth quarter because, you know, you do. But I don't think you can play them the whole game together. I think they play too slow. But I think if they got a serviceable point guard and they play at a faster pace and brought Beal off the bench and finish the game with the big three, but I think they need one more big guy, in my opinion, before they can compete. Because you have to say to yourself, okay, we're probably the third best team even if you want to be really, really positive. Because I'm not sold on Minnesota, and I think OKC is a little young. Mm-hmm. But you have to ask yourself, I don't know if we can beat the Clippers or the Nuggets. And that's what you really going to have to do in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Suns, their fourth quarter numbers have been really, really bad. Some of it might be fatigue, but the turnovers are crazy and out of control. What do you think? Where do you land on this team needs a point guard debate, Chuck?
I think this team definitely needs a point guard for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think they play way too slow. But also, they in my opinion, they have a really difficult time because, you know, Beal and Booker are not really point guards. And what's really going to happen when they get in the playoffs, they're going to put, say, hey, let's make these guys work and bring the ball up and down the court, make them use up the shot clock, get in the offense late, and then you're going to be rushing. Yeah, so I definitely think they need a point guard. Because, you know, the point guard, his only job, we don't need a point guard who's going to go out there and try gunning. We just need him to do two things: push the pace and get the ball to Booker and KD and Beal when they're in the game. We don't need a guy who's going to go out there and shoot it a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think they need to play at a much faster pace because you got three nuclear weapons out there. and that's really nice to have, but it doesn't work when all three of them. I tell you, because give you a perfect example. When the Clippers made the trade for James Harden, we all said it can't work with Russ and James Harden together. And Russell did one of the most selfless things. He said, you know what, I'll come off the bench. And ever since Russell started coming off the bench, that team has been pretty much unbeatable. And I think it would be the same way with the Suns because, you know, first of all, Bradley's going to have to check his ego because the most important thing is winning. Because he's a great player, but it's really difficult for all three of those guys in 48 minutes. Now, like I say, they could do it for the last 5 or 6 minutes, but for 48 minutes, it's tough to get all three of them involved. And Bradley would actually benefit when, you know, he said, okay, when we take KD or Book out the game, I'm the second option. And so they definitely need a point guard, in my opinion.
Charles Barkley, NBA on TNT, Hall of Famer, joins us here on the Arizona Sports Line. Most of the reports in terms of rumors getting close to the trade deadline, Charles, about the Suns have to do with Miles Bridges. He's probably going to get traded. We know about Miles Bridges on the court. We know about his off-the-court issues that he has dealt with, but he is playing NBA basketball. There seems to be a lot of Suns fans that are against this in a pursuit of a championship. What do you say to Suns fans who maybe feel that way, that they don't want to support a guy with those kind of things on his record?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. He has a lot of baggage. I think they need you know who I would love them to go get? Somebody like the kid from Toronto, Portal. You know, a big guy who's active, who can shoot a little bit, who's just going to play with great energy and great effort. Jacob Podol. I forget how to pronounce his game. It's Podol or Podol?
Pirtle.
Pirtle.
Yeah, there's no R, but somehow there's an R in the pronunciation, Chuck. So it's not totally get it. Yeah.
So, you know, somebody, because I do, because Bridges to me, because he's like only 6'7".
Yeah.
Because you don't need somebody who's going, because you got to think about this. You're going to have to play against Zubats, the other big, I forget the big kid. I watched the Heat play. I watched them play the Heat last night. They got another big guy. And one thing I just think that Bridges to me, I'm not going to get in all the ethical stuff, to be honest with you. But I think they need another big body, because you only need somebody. And the one thing you don't need is a guy who's going to be like, because listen, Bridges is a solid player, but he's going to want to score.
Yes.
And is he gonna mope around when he doesn't get the ball? The last thing you don't need is a guy who's like, even though he can be a good player, but he ain't going to get no shots, because you got those three guys. They're going to get all the shots, and rightfully so. You know, you need a guy like Mark West was the perfect teammate. I'm just going to play defense and rebound the ball, because me, Dan, and KJ are going to get all the shots. Mark is never going to complain. He's never going to mope around, because I use this term a lot when I'm talking about basketball. The last thing you need is a floater. And people say, what do you mean by a floater? I said, that's a guy who's on your team who's a good player, who's not going to get any shots, more than likely, but all he got to do is all the dirty work. And that's a really important thing to have on a team, because there's only one ball out there. And listen, if you're playing with KD, Booker, and Beal, you ain't going to get no shots.
No, you're not. You're right.
That's why I was very disappointed in Aiden. I said, man, he's in a perfect situation. He's a big dude who's athletic. He going to get 16, 18 points. But all he got to do is play defense and rebound, and the Suns would have been unbeatable. But he's such a baby. He's like, well, I'm not getting in the shots. I mean, that's because you're playing with KD and Booker. You're not going to get in the shots. And if you get Beal, you definitely ain't going to get no shots. But if you just play defense and get a lot of rebounds, we would be unbeatable. Because when you have guys who are great offensively, like those guys, you just need players who are going to do the dirty work. Mm-hmm. And if you got a guy out there like, I ain't getting no shots, they want me to do all the hard work. Because defense and rebounding are the two hardest jobs in sports, in the NBA. And you got to have a special guy who says, hey, you know what? We're going to win. If I just play defense and rebound, we're going to win. And Aiden didn't want to do that. And that's why he's up in Portland stinking up the joint. But this would have been a perfect scenario for if like, you what? All I got to do is play defense and rebound, and we're going to win.
Right.
That's a perfect situation for certain guys.
Yeah, and you're right. It's so hard for basketball teams to commit to that common cause of winning, and when you get it, I mean, I can't believe the Clippers have that. Of all teams, these guys who have all kind of had checkered reputations for different reasons, and you got a guy like Kawhi now in a year where there's a game's limit on the MVP voting, he might be the front runner. So I guess what I'm getting at, when you look at the Clippers, what does it tell you about how much that matters, about collective buy-in among a basketball team to make something special happen?
You know, it's such a great point. First of all, this guy, Kawhi Leonard, he is ridiculous to me. I've never seen a player, I said this on the air a month ago, I've never seen a player, and I've been in the NBA almost 40 years, I've never seen a player who can miss that much time and still come back and play great. Like normally, and I'm talking about years. He's missed probably 3 years. And, normally when guys come back, they're not the same. He's the same. He's ridiculous and unbelievable. And so to me right now, Joker, Kawhi, Bronson are the 3 front runners for MVP, in my opinion. But I want to say something about what you said, guys buying in. When I first got to Phoenix, nobody cared about anything but winning. And it was really a refreshing thing because obviously me, Dan, and Kevin were going to get the lion's share of the attention, and rightfully so because we were the 3 best players. But we had so many guys who didn't care about anything but winning, and we got to the finals. And obviously the Bulls were better. I can't take that away from them. But I remember having a conversation with Paul Westphal going into in the middle of the next season. He says, what you think? I says, man, we're going to have a hard time winning this thing. He says, what do you mean? I says, Coach, we got guys bitching about playing time. We got guys bitching about who's making the most money. And this is behind the scenes. And I said, so I know exactly the point you're talking about buying in.
Yep.
Like my first year, we were like, hey, because I told the guys when we first got together, I said, hey, guys, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get to the finals, and we're going to play the Bulls. And they looked at me like, are you crazy? What are you talking about already? I said, let me just tell y'all something. I personally think you guys can agree. I think I'm the best basketball player in the world. I don't think anybody's better at basketball than me. They just have more help. I got Dan Marotta, Kevin Johnson, Mark West, Ed Ceballos, Oliver Miller, all those guys. I'm good now. I said, I'm good. We're going to the damn finals. All we got to do is stick together and nobody care about anything. They're like, let's do it. And we get to the finals, and obviously the Bulls beat us. So like I say, my next year coming in, Dan Marotta, I'm not talking about him. We had other guys on the team opening up restaurants. I'm like, that guy don't deserve a restaurant.
So true.
I was like, Dan Marley has earned the right to open up a restaurant. Kevin Johnson's probably earned up the right. And if Charles wanted to open up a restaurant, we should do that. If we had 2 guys open up restaurants, I'm like, that dude do not deserve a restaurant at all.
It's fantastic.
Charles, you're the best.
So
man.
True.
No, this is a true story.
Yeah.
And then we had I'm sitting around on the bus and on the plane, and guys like, yo, man, why am I not playing more? And I'm like, because you're not that good. You're a role player. And then we're like, well, why is this guy making this much money and I'm making this much money? I'm like, because he's cause you can't say this because he's going to spend on the team, but I'm thinking to myself, he makes more money than you because he's a better player. but see, that's what happens. That's what happens when you have success.
Yeah.
When you have success, everybody starts thinking, instead of like their friends like, yo, man, you should be playing more. You should be making more money. Your agent's saying that to you. So the point I want to make was that, the Clippers clearly are buying in. They know that Kawhi's the most important player by far, then Paul George, then James Harden. But the ultimate sacrifice, in my opinion, has been Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
When that guy, they played like the first 4 or 5 games with those 2 together, and I think they were 2 and 4, somewhere in that range. Then Russ, being the selfless dude, is say, hey, you know what, Ty, I'll come off the bench. And like I say, I think I saw a record. They're 25 and 4, 25 and 5 the last 30 games. Because I watched them play the Heat last night, and I'm like, man, this team might be the team to beat.
Yeah.
Because I think the Clippers are the team to beat in the West, and Denver's a close second. The only other team I think can get in the conversation is the Suns. Because, like I say, they got those 3 nuclear weapons. But it's hard to play 3 nuclear weapons together because the other 2 guys, they're just really standing around. So I really do think they need a point guard desperately, in my opinion.
Charles, always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Standing ovation again for you, my man.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Charles.
Hey, listen, Hey, when bad players start opening up restaurants, nothing good gonna happen on the team.
Words to live by. Charles
You are the
Barkley, the Hall of
greatest.
Famer, joining us on the Arizona Sports Line.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.